Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to be showing you footage of Ghost Spider in Doom 2.3. I have been putting a lot of time into testing this team, both on the test server and on live, and I want to show you what I found. A lot of you, I had mentioned in my initial video that I didn't find this team, the Web Warriors, to be overwhelmingly good. In other words, they're a good team. They're better than the Symbiotes, but I said, they're not 200% better. They're not like the new Warriors were. And I've gotten a lot of pushback from some of you on that. Basically saying, look, there's not enough data evidence for you to be reaching those conclusions. You haven't done your homework, Philosopher. You're just throwing this together. So what I want to do is do some homework, not just on sort of how good Ghost Spider is, but whether hybrid teams work. Because now some of you have messaged me and you're like, or mentioned on my Discord and in the comments saying, hey, I don't even have the symbiotes built. I haven't put any orange gear on my symbiotes. Well, for you, it's an easier choice. You could just work on a Web Warriors. You could put symbiotes off to the side as long as you're able to get the stars on the Web Warriors. Okay, not everybody's going to be able to do that depending on the size of your roster, how you're going to do in the blitz, whether you spend money and so on. So, but for players who do have symbiotes, I want to look at some hybrid teams as well. So what I've done is I brought Ghost Spider to gear tier 14, level 80, which is exactly where I have Venom. Now, I have Venom at 7 red stars, and I have Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, I keep calling her Spider-Gwen, at 4 red stars. I did pull a 7 on her, but I don't have the yellow stars. We're going to do a couple things today. First of all, I'm going to show you footage. I ran Ghost Spider instead of Venom on my symbiote team because I want you to get a sense of, if you're a free-to-play player, you only have this characters at 3, 4 stars. How are they going to perform compared to symbiotes that you could farm up to 7 stars? So you could see how they do at equal gear levels. Then what I'm going to do is the second part of this video. I had some of you telling me that I gave Spider-Man and Miles the short shrift. And one of you said that at level 80, gear tier 13, they were performing well for one of you in Doom Raid either 2.2 or 2.3. So I brought them to that level. This was my gift to you guys, the viewers, because I otherwise might not have done that, to see how they performed. And actually, they were surprising to me a little bit. So I'm going to show you footage of that. And we're going to talk about kind of where, at the end of this, we'll talk about where I'm at right now in terms of how strong I think the Web Warriors are and what sort of hybrid teams could work. I'm still puzzling my way through this. Basically, you're seeing it as I am doing the research myself. So, okay, let's go here. I'm going to first show you. Now, this is a video sort of showing you, what it looks like. So here's my Venom. You can see what I have on my Venom. I have all the T4s on Ghost Spider, but only 4 red stars there. And you could see me take her to Doom 2.3, and I literally just toss her in the symbiote team and see, how does she do compared to Venom? I think Venom is the weakest of the symbiotes. And, I think the question is for, let's say, a newer player who hasn't geared up all their symbiotes to the level they would need to for gear, for Doom 2.3, can you sort of transition to the Web Warriors? In other words, I think for a lot of players, they're not going to have the gear to just, bring up all the Web Warriors right away. So the question is this a team that you can sort of, slowly but surely bring up and work in with your symbiote? So this ability here is really nice. It's an ability block. She goes fast. So one advantage she has over Venom, she's faster than Venom, so she can apply the ability block right away. Venom is a notoriously slow character. Now here I have her as a Raider. Right now I'm thinking that you put Raider on the full team except for Striker with Miles. Now you don't need a Raider on her to get 100% crit. I don't think on the full team. You do need it outside of the team. So for right now I have her as Raider. Some people suggested to me that maybe she should be better with something else. I think Raider probably makes sense for her because her ISO attack's not very good. So she gets the speed up on spawn, so she goes very quickly. Now here I am going after Doctor Strange. That's usually what I do on this node is I go after Doctor Strange. but I'm trying to do something a little bit different here, thinking that, I'm going to be able to keep that ability block on Emma Frost, maybe, do some stuff with that. But as you're going to see here, so one difference between Spider-Gwen and Venom is that you see how they get all of the extra turns, and she does not, right? Because she doesn't have the synergy with the rest of the symbiotes. She's not going to get the extra turns. She doesn't get all the buffs spread to her from anti-venom and so on, but she's holding her own. I think she does bring other different things to the table that they don't. She's able, she does stay alive, and even at 4 red stars, and she contributes about, not that much, about the same. I mean, what I would say is this actually, what you're seeing here is actually a very hopeful performance here, because you're seeing that at 4 red stars, she performs, roughly as well as Venom does at 7. Now, like I said, they have different strengths. I mean, Venom is much more forgiving because since he's a symbiote, if you're using him on the symbiote team, he's going to get all this extra healing and so on from the symbiotes, right? But one thing that she does get, and you could see some of the heal here, there's an important ability that Symbiote Spider-Man has that gives, some healing to Hero Spider-Verse. And, she does have, when debuffs are applied, she is getting some healing from Symbiote Spider-Man. So you can see one of the great things here, she now can spread these debuffs to the entire team. So she's going to spread, I'm trying to decide, what do I want to spread to everybody? And I ended up choosing that because I wanted the slow instead of the offense down. But you could see that's a very powerful ability. It's like Hela's spreading debuffs, to all of the enemy. So I think this is great. I mean, on this node right here, I think she did more at 4 red stars than Venom does at 7. So this is a feather in her cap. I think this is very good. Now, I will say that I'm clearing this otherwise, and people have said, well, yeah, but that's not the question, Philosopher. Fair enough. I think it's the question for a lot of players where they already have the symbiotes built, because I will say the symbiotes clear this as well, but I think she's actually, you could see how much better she is in the sense that she's able to survive and contribute to the team even at a lower star level. So to me, this is the data point that I want to give you here is that if you are thinking about, so this is now the second node. If you're thinking about bringing her at a low star, so here's the thing. So you're seeing the problem. On the second node, part of the issue was her ability block got resisted because Phyla-Vell had defense up. So the downside of the lower star levels is you're going to get resists. Maybe you put her a skirmisher, although then she won't always crit. And you won't always get the ability block, but that's an issue for her at lower star levels, okay? So where, obviously with the symbiotes, I'm going to have them at a higher star level. Maybe you don't. But they're now all farmable other than anti-venom. I presume anti-venom, they will find a way to make him farmable in the near future since the team is, I think, officially, not the top team anymore. But you're seeing, nonetheless, how she performs here. What I will say, though, is you end up seeing in this node, so I do run into some issues that I don't usually have. Now there, you have to really look out with her, with Ghost Spider, for you really need to get slow out there so that this way she can put blinds out. And this, of course, she doesn't have that synergy here because this team doesn't put out slow to the same extent. So now, certainly, Symbiote Spider-Man Ultimate puts out slow, but the rest of the team does not. So, but you're seeing here, she's alive. She's at full health. she's generally doing okay. And this node, she does a little bit worse. On the prior node, she maybe does a little better than Venom. But overall, she's an acceptable substitute, even at low star level, which I think, is a data point that may be useful to some players. Okay? I'll just show you here, how this looks. You could see. All right, I think you're seeing enough here to see she's doing okay. Now let's go. I want to show you the next video. What I did in this video is this is the 3 Web Warriors. Spider-Man and Miles are gear tier 13, level 80. And as one of you rightfully point out, a lot of the rework stats come in those higher levels, so leveling up is important. So what I did here is I put SSM Anti-Venom with Ghost Spider and these two. You can see where they are here, low health. Now, the nice thing about these characters are, as Spider-Man and Miles is, with all the dodge and with obviously Miles gets the stealth, even at lower health, they can survive due to all the dodging. So this is more of a hybrid team. I'm not saying it's the best hybrid team, okay, but these are the 3 characters in the game right now. And you can see this is, once again, on 2.3. But one thing that really surprised me here, was interesting, is that they actually survived and did fine. So you'll be surprised. These are gear tier 13 characters. Now, there are a couple spots where Spidey has some resistance here on planting his debuffs. You have to understand, even though he has one ability that gets like much higher focus on, like a bunch of, like, basically to make it impossible to miss, one of his other abilities, that's not the case, and he's only gear tier 13. I think at gear tier 14, 15, he's fine. He has about the same focus. He has a little higher focus than Symbiote Spider-Man and Anti-Venom. So I think he's fine for now without being a skirmisher. But I have him as a raider, and I have Miles as a striker, which is where I think they'll end up for now. But you can see here, look at this. With all the dodging, these characters do pretty well. Now you can see, by the way, I put the blind on Emma Frost. The idea there was to try to spread it. And I don't remember if I was able to do it here or not with Ghost Spider, but that was, in fact, the idea. That's also why I went over here to apply the defense down there. I didn't want to accidentally kill Emma. There you go. Because the idea was, like, let's spread blind everywhere. Load up on the... since she already was loaded on debuff. So that worked. Her ability, Spider-Gwen's ability, Ghost Spider's ability on this node is particularly nice. Second node, not as important, not as helpful that I found, but it's very, very important here. It definitely makes things better, and you could see that this team is doing fine here. I think this is quite a statement for the Web Warriors, that they were able, some of these characters actually are able to do well enough at gear tier 13, level 80, to survive. I mean, I think that is a statement. And, contribute at this level. So one thing I will say is one advantage of this team is, now obviously my Miles and Spidey are at high star levels because they're very farmable. I'm sure it'll be like that for most players. I think what this tells me is, because of the reliance on dodge, this team can do better at lower gear, which I think is important, or maybe even lower stars, which I think is important for, obviously for some players. It's going to be certainly important for free-to-play players. What I will say, though, is I don't think I've changed my overall assessment of the team. And I'm going to continue. I'm doing this on the test server where they're all the same. And what I'll just say is, I think this, one of my friends who is also on the test server is higher on the Web Warriors than I am. And he says that the Web Warriors, in his mind, are about the level of Secret Avengers, maybe a notch below, in raids only. First of all, to me, that's disappointing, even if that's true, because the Secret Avengers came out in July. And This is now here we are in December and January, and it's like 6 months later, and you have a team that's like almost as good or right around as good. I think they're a little worse than Secret Avengers in raids, but they are less gear dependent than Secret Avengers. The other thing is, of course, Secret Avengers and New Warriors are so you can see they completed the first node, right? Secret Avengers, as I say, and New Warriors are 3-person teams. I don't know if that, you could think of that as a feature or a bug. This is one depending on your perspective. This is a 5-person team. What I'll just say is I don't think the team is very useful in like war. As far as I haven't been able to figure out a use for it so far in war. Not particularly great. Yeah, that was a mistake, by the way. That was a misplay. Shouldn't have selected Crossbones as my primary target since he had immunity. Okay, so they're trying to stun Graviton, and that lands, so that's very helpful. You can see, I mean, this team is pretty functional. These two characters, Spidey and Miles, are functional at lower gear levels. I think that's definitely says something. I don't believe that I made it through this node completely. I do generally with full symbiotes have no problem with this node, but it gave you a sense of, I forgot here, this was another mistake on my part. I forgot that the ability block can't be spread. So definitely some misplays just because I don't know the teams well enough yet, the new characters well enough. But I'm learning. What I will say, though, is generally speaking, that was nice, right? The dodges there were very nice. What I will just say is that, this team has some strengths to it. One, like I said, is definitely the dodging. The problem when they don't, the issue is there's an RNG element to it that when they don't dodge, they die. They don't have the survivability when they don't dodge. But the good thing about dodging is that it can really help you overperform with low gear. And so, if you're a player who's just like, look, my symbiotes are low, or I have to pour a lot into my symbiotes anyway to get them to function in Doom 2.3 or 2.2 or whatever level you're at, 2.1, I think that this is a really good alternative for you. I also think that there's no question that this team is better than the symbiotes are rating. I think that's unquestioned. The reason people are like, why are you being so negative? The reason I'm being negative, my role here, what I'm trying to do is help you by being honest with you about what I see and not go by what other people are saying. I don't really follow other people, the herd, so to speak. So if other people say things, and that does not mean that I'm going to automatically follow what they say. My independent feeling when I tried this team out at full stars, and people were also, I got some comments, people were like, well, you didn't know the team well, you were misplaying it, this and that. Well, it's always like that when I first start with a team and I'm just getting to learn the team. It's not like that the first time I used New Warriors, but as I think we all know, and the first time we used New Warriors, all right, this is where things fall apart for the team. But what I will say is that when the first time I used New Warriors, I just ulted and destroyed everything, right? This is not that kind of team. That's the information I want you to get out of this. Now, here you saw I ran into problems. I didn't control Moon Knight, which is an issue. I still have to learn how to control with these new team members, the way that I do with the symbiotes. What I will say is this. This is the level. You can see what I've got on this character. You can see this here. I do think that for a lot of players, this is going to be really important because, it gives you a data point in terms of figuring out whether and how to pour your gear. I'm going to put out a video giving you my sort of hard recommendations for when you should go on hard on Web Warriors, when not, that sort of thing. So I'm going to do that, but I'm really trying to collect data beforehand because I want to make sure I give you the good advice. One thing I will say, though, that does help a hybrid team is this right here. So in raids, when a negative effect's applied to an enemy, Hero, Spider-Verse get 3% heal. So, one thing that might help some of you is if you have a big symbiote Spider-Man, you may be able to use a hybrid team. I think that could be like a bridge to the full team. In other words, gear up some of the characters now, use symbiote Spider-Man with them, maybe Symbiote, Spider, and Antivenom, and then move to the full team later. All right, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you got comments or questions, cheers or jeers, put them below or go to my Discord. That's linked below. You can go to my Twitch stream, which is also linked below. And please, if you want to support this channel, use the link below to buy Amazon coins instead of going to somebody else's link or buying them elsewhere. If you use this link, it supports the channel. That'll help me and Punk, the guy who makes my thumbnails. Thank you.